Hi everybody, Russ from I Am As 11. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're new channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you're made aware of any time we put new content on. As always, we'd like to thank channel sponsors Untuck It. Check them out in the description below. Today's guest was actually on my channel like last week, because on Fridays we do this Freestyle Fridays where we just like open up, and Phil was on there showing me his KFC. What an introduction that is, Phil. Anyway, how are we today, Mr. Phil? Are we well?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Not much going on, just staying indoors, what I've been doing since probably just before Christmas now.
Yeah.
Not much going on,
Yeah.
but you've been keeping me entertained anyway.
And yeah, I haven't even paid him to say that. No, I appreciate it. It is, isn't it? It's the same old, isn't it, really, at the moment?
Yeah.
I think I follow Chris Ross, the East End poet, on Twitter, and he put a poem up today about every day seems the same or something like that, and it's so true. It's so true. It's like I lose count of what I did until obviously we had to start doing homeschooling with Flow again, because you have to know what day it is, because you've got to make sure you download the right pack and have printed up all that. Because Christ, if I download the wrong maths sheet, oh God, she goes into so it is a bit crazy. But how have you been in yourself, man? You been all right?
Yeah, it's been all right. I've just when I've gone out, I'll just sort of stay local, or just go for a walk by the river or something like that. Yeah, it's sort of like a pastime really for me.
It is, isn't it? It is. It's horrible, isn't it? It's like, it is all right, but it doesn't help when it's like pissing it down and it's all grey and horrible and cold. The summer was easy. You could go for your walk and and it'd be lovely, in your shorts and your flip flops. But yeah, it's too easy just to stay in it. It's too easy to stay in and just hibernate almost, isn't it? But I love seeing that's what I like seeing Jack's stuff on Instagram. Bless him, he's done like 14. I think it's 14 like 5Ks in a row. He's like, fucking hell, mate. Fair play to him, mate. Fair play, Jack. It's if you can do that, I've got to start doing it. But you're staying hydrated, which is good. You got to keep your water levels up, keep your immunity system up. But yeah, them are keeping us going, though, aren't they?
That is true. I've actually been quite enjoying watching us play this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, all the games are pretty much on telly. Even though there's no fans, it's not the same. But nonetheless, I'm more than happy with how we're performing.
Exactly. And actually, if it means that we have no fans in there until the end of the season, then we finish, 8th or whatever, and a good cup run, I don't think anyone would complain, would they, to be perfectly frank?
That's right.
It's one of those things as well. It's just typical in it that they've got this sort of this team, and it's like there's no fucker there to watch it. It's just typical West Ham. Yeah, apart from but I mean, it's irrespective of me if I'm there or not. It's lovely to see, isn't it? And I think, as you said, everyone watches at home. You watch all the games, and obviously I know there was, when we had the one ballot for the Man United game, there's it was funny because some people didn't want to go, some people did want to go, and it's like, I think everyone's sort of, I don't really want it, because obviously with the second variant and all everything else that's going on of COVID, I think everyone would rather just like, we'll stay at home until we get the jab, and then we can all come back together. That'd be nice when everyone gets back.
I think the best thing to do is just wait until it's like properly normal, and then you can actually sort of not be 2 meters apart, where everyone's all sat next to each other. You've got a full house, even have away fans, just have like the old normality back.
Yeah, if it's gonna be, we never know, do it? I don't know how normal, is it gonna be like back to normal, the old normal? I don't know, but it's horrible to think about it that in that respect. But I agree. I'd rather have no fans in there than some. I mean, it was good when that Man United game when we had 2,000 in. They made a big racket, it made a big difference. But it's the same as if you're in an empty house and like the creak of a floorboard just sounds so much louder because it's so quiet. It's the same as being at London Stadium. It was so quiet with no fans there anyway. Having some fans in there with a bit of just built an atmosphere straight away. But I totally agree. 60,000 with the away fans back as well. All that banter. I mean, obviously they're trying to convince players not to hug and celebrate and stuff. So how are we going to get 60,000 fans in the stadium? We're nowhere near that. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible. I think it was Trev, actually. I think it was Sinclair was on TalkSport yesterday saying, it's impossible to sort of not make people celebrate, to hug and stuff like that. and also the spitting. So, and
Oh.
I've been funny, but these guys also they're all negative. They're all tested negative anyway because they wouldn't be able to play if they tested negative. So,
I mean, the grounds is always getting looked after anyway. So,
yeah,
I just like it's just going to be like you can't do anything now if you're going to carry on like that.
I think so, mate. But what you see, as long as I don't want us to I don't want this circuit breaker. I don't want us to having to, to have any sort of stop in play to the Premier League, because we know from West Ham, from previous experiences, as soon as there's a break, we come back and we're crap for about 2 weeks. And it's like we can't afford that at the moment. Is it even like when we had those 10 days off, sort of in between the last game and the Stockport game, we came back and we weren't at the races. And so that's why, I mean, this will go out after the Burnley game. So hopefully we'd have beaten Burnley. We'll just say that. We don't like, or maybe we'll just in case that was a good draw, or I can't believe we lost. Moyes out. Yeah, that's it. We're done. We've covered all the bases, Phil. So I won't edit it. I will just leave it in because I think it's quite funny. But and obviously, as you said, this season, where do you think we're going to finish this season?
I'll say top 8.
Yeah.
Don't know where about because it's that tight up there. But if we get into Europe, I'll be obviously really happy about that. But I'm still more than content with 8th place because it's always like where we want to finish anyway. That's just that is the West Ham way, isn't it? Always hoping for a cup run in the top 10 finish or top 8 if you're feeling more ambitious.
Yeah, sounding a bit fruity. We'll go top 8. No, I agree. I think I think it's baby steps, isn't it, really? You think we finished last season sort of mid to the second table, so to speak, that second table, which is what we were in. Now I think we're in our right position now. I think in that top 10, based on obviously the squad and how the well of the team play. I think 8th to 10th, I think is reasonably where we should be expecting to stay, as you said, and a cup run. That's all you want, and I think we're going the right way about it. I think in terms of we're getting the points on the board. Hopefully, we could be safe by February, possibly. 14 points to go, wherever it is. So safe by February. So we'll see, man. We'll see, but it's all good.
Yeah, so long as we don't go complacent.
Yeah, and it's a West Ham thing, because we'll say, oh yeah, but we couldn't. We want a cup run, and you were happy to sacrifice the league for the FA Cup. But guarantee, if we lost 2-0 to not the Southend, but Sheffield United in the league or something like that, they'd all be Moyes out. But you've just said you were happy to sacrifice the league position. But so
that's the thing with football, isn't it? You're always contradicting yourself.
Yeah. Oh, it's a game of contradictions, isn't it? It's like, even now when you see, was it the Villa game's been called off? But then again, but then Villa had to put out a under 18 team against Liverpool in the cup. It's like,
I think you still got it's sort of fair enough with them postponing that game, is because they were self-isolating the first team anyway, and I think their isolation was meant to finish on the day of the game was meant to be. Yeah. So where they've obviously been at home, they've not had any training together whatsoever. I mean, I don't know if they did any training Zoom calls or anything, but it's not the same.
No, it's not the same. But then I feel sorry for someone like Fulham, obviously, because of that. They had to play that game yesterday. They did all right yesterday, but it's Scotty P. 48 hours you're playing Tottenham. What? Okay, all right, fair enough. But I think it's different now. I think football is now different. As you said, the players are throughout the season are at a level of fitness where they could do that. And 48 hours notice, no, they're playing a game in terms of fitness wise. It's just tactics, isn't it? But then they contradicted themselves completely by playing all right yesterday.
That's right.
If they got stuff like 5-0, then I would have. And he could have been aggrieved by that, but he didn't. He played all right. So it's just love it. I love it. It's just every day you look at it and something different's changed, and there's a different. Someone else has got COVID, and that's what I mean. When we come to the FA Cup, people are moaning about the Man U Liverpool game. We could be playing youth team v youth team easily. If both games, both. I mean, Danny Ings got tested positive today. No, it's just mental. Oh dear, no, I love it. It's exciting though, isn't it? It's the wrong type of excitement, but it is. It just throws a complete like bomb in the middle of your team ready. Okay, It's like when Moisey was like he was out and he had to self isolate, and we only found out on the day with him and Diop and Cullen, wasn't it? And
Yeah, that's right.
and I didn't even realise Moisey wasn't there, because there was a grey haired bloke on the touchline, and it was only when the camera panned in I was like, he looks a bit taller than Moisey usually does. It's like, oh, he's had a nerve line. Like, all right, idiot there, but yeah. Oh dear. But I mean, it was like the Southampton game, weren't it? When old Ralph was self-isolating when we played them, and he did his interview on Amazon Prime in the toilet, it seemed, didn't it?
Yeah,
And
that's
I
right.
love it. So funny. It's just so funny. But anyway, yeah. So Phil, first question, he says, is why West Ham? Why is West Ham your club, mate?
Well, it's easy. My dad's a West Ham fan. He grew up in East London, not right near the stadium. He's more Stepney way, but it's just basically because of him, really. I don't know how he became a West Ham fan. I can't remember. I'll have to ask him next time. But yeah, I had no choice really, because I live sort of southeast London, sort of towards Kent border. There's other teams around, like Charlton Athletic's always been like the local team.
Yeah.
So if I want West Ham, I could have had that. Even when I was in school, like in primary school, I had a couple of friends who were like Millwall fans. Not saying that I'd have become a Millwall fan or anything like that, but that could have been an option. Or even, second team is being QPR, because my uncle, like my dad's older brother, he's a QPR fan. So they're like a team I've always had a soft spot for behind West Ham. But I'll always be West Ham through and through.
Well, yeah, you're too late now. You're too far in now, aren't you? You can't. It's like a black hole. You can't come back now. Once you're in, isn't it? But yeah, and I suppose with QPR and West Ham, there are a lot of sort of players who play for both, isn't there? There's a lot of. It's one of those weird teams where we have a lot of transfers, or people end up playing for both, whether it was Sinclair or Zamora or Anton or Rob Green, and there's loads and loads and loads. And
Rio at the end of his career.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a ton of them, absolute ton of them, and it's interesting. But as you said, now you're in sort of southeast, London, sort of. You must be a bit of a minority down there, and as you said, it's all.
I'd say, I think because it's in Bexley Borough where I am, so you still get a mixture of everybody. Yeah. So obviously you're always going to have like Man U and Arsenal and Chelsea and Liverpool. And then you've got Charlton, but you do get West Ham as well in certain areas. So I think if you're like near me, so if you're like near like Sleeve Green or Dartford area, there's always West Ham fans about there. But obviously the majority of them are over in Essex way. Yeah, really.
And that's the thing. I mean, we've got. My dad comes from sort of Charlton area, and so he was part of a pocket of West Ham fans who'd have to walk through the tunnel on a match day, and then they'd have people coming the other way, going to see Charlton, and they'd all end up having fights all the time in the middle of the tunnel, which is great. But yeah, I know there is a sort of a heartland of West Ham still. Obviously, famously people like Bonzo. So Bonzo didn't leave the south at all, and South London and the Charlton area would have been his local club, I think, as well. So yeah, it's not a prerequisite that you have to support your local team there. But as you said, because your dad's East End, it's sort of been ingrained.
That's right.
And then you're part of the gang then, aren't you? And as you said, it's obviously you've popped on our show, I've seen you on Jake's show and things like that. And it's part of a special community, isn't it?
That's right. Community. It's like you say, it's very special. Where obviously you've had fans from all over the world come on your show, so I think it's like where you mentioned it before about like no matter where you're in the world, there's always a West Ham fan there, and they always acknowledge you. But it's like even if I was out and about round here, if a Charlton fan walks past another Charlton fan, they're not going to say hi to each other, and the same with like Man United fans, because they're like rats. Wherever you are, they're there, but they're not going to go like Ollie's at the wheel or anything like that, are they?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we're a special bunch.
Yeah, but we would, isn't it? So, and it's not even you don't even necessarily see eye to eye with them. As you walk past, it's like you'd be walking down the road and they'd be like 3 or 4 yards back, and you'd be like, "Oh, come on, Irons, Irons!" It's like that's what they do, and I love
That's
it. I
it.
do love it. You're right. It's particularly on holidays when we used to go on holidays. You'd always bump into them. Always bump into a Hammers fan somewhere. Ooh,
That's the thing. When I've been away, I used to go to Malta quite a lot when I was younger because I'm half Maltese. So I always bring my West Ham shirt anyway, because it's like that's just a thing I'll do if I ever did go away abroad, just so it sort of shows, I'm English, and here's my team, and
represent.
then with the off chance you mingle with another West Ham fan or someone who supports another team, and then just talk about football.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
We have a big we've got the Maltese Hammers, haven't we? We've got an actual they're a big old bunch, and they do well for themselves. But as you said, there's guys everywhere, isn't it? There's literally guys everywhere. You'd easily walk out on holiday, walk into a bar, and it's a West Ham pub, or there's a shirt somewhere, and I love it. I love it. I love just interacting and talking to fans all over the world. And as you said, it's weird. I still have this sort of weird. It's weird sort of. It sounds really strange. You have all these guys all over the world, and they're just so fanatical about West Ham, but we've won nothing, and there's no reason why this person's picked West Ham. I mean, you said you were sort of somewhat anointed at birth, to be a West Ham fan. Where we've had guys like Justin at one of the Chicago Hammers and people like that who chose West Ham. It's like, surely if you got, you just got, and it was like, no, I deliberately went to choose a team who hadn't won anything because they were a bit like the Chicago Cubs. We hadn't won the World Series for 100 and something years. And he said, that's why I picked West Ham, because they have won nothing. I was like, it's like you're a glutton for punishment, surely. But
it's kind of like when you get like the big celebrity Hollywood fans, like in America. It's like, where we go, I don't know, Obama's always been like linked as a West Ham fan.
Apparently so, yeah.
Apparently, and then like in wrestling with Triple H, he just did that. He did the Hammers thing once on telly or whatever.
Well, I think because he did something as well, didn't he? He did something with I think it was in the summer where he did like something to Declan Rice, wasn't it? He did like a little video, like Declan, don't go to Chelsea, stay here, basically. Yeah. And there's weird ones like that, and I mean, some of them have still got, a lot of them. There's obviously because, I mean, you're looking over the States, you got people like obviously like James over there, and Russell's well known there, and stuff like that. So you have this sort of, there's relatively sort of a bit like a celebrity fan base, but obviously James and Russell, I mean, particularly Brand as well. I mean, it's proper like West Ham, and so is Jim as well, but. It's random when you get these random ones. Like I remember, I think someone mentioned Dave Grohl was like a West Ham fan, or there's some sort of West Ham thing. He had maybe a picture taken next to a West Ham thing. I don't know, but therefore he's a fan. Obviously Katy Perry fan, famously because of Russell, and Keira Knightley. But again, she's from around. She's at least around these parts. But it's not like Tom Hanks is a Aston Villa fan, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
I love random. It's like, why? It's like he's sort of like he was doing shooting there one day and But we haven't got as many as others, obviously. But we'll get we'll get a few on there.
Yeah, I mean, you had like Elijah Wood, he's become a West Ham fan because of Green Street.
Yeah.
So he's adopted into that. As long as he's not fighting.
As long as exactly. Because I mean, I remember that. I think if I remember, they pulled a fast one over the club on that one a little bit, because I didn't think they didn't necessarily disclose the full nature of the film when they gave access. So it's all about all the fighting bit. So it's like, because obviously that's the main bit, the fact that it kicks off all the time, rather than one man's journey from America into the love of the English game or something. I think they pulled a bit of a fast one on the club on that one, to be honest, because the other Green Streets weren't filmed anywhere near West Ham. Just the first one. That's probably why, because they asked to come back.
Yeah, with that, like, I remember I've seen the film loads of times. It's like, I know some of it, they actually filmed near the Den. I think it was like after that, when they go to the match against Birmingham, Gillingham, Real Life, I think they filmed at the same place where they did the Football Factory I believe,
Yeah.
and then I think only because I'm really good with like geography, I was like, they're meant to be at Bank Station, even though I can tell that it's not Bank Station. It's like somewhere up in the Northern Line.
Yeah.
And then when they did their big fight against Mill, that was actually like round where I work.
Yeah.
So which they do a lot of filming around there anyway. Interestingly enough.
There we go. Well, I mean, you're right, and I find it always funny when American films are shot in London, and you know from your own experience that that's not that place.
No, that's right.
And it's like, or maybe like or I remember famously, I think it was an episode of Sherlock randomly, and it was the one where I think it was the last episode where he was like, I think he had a bomb on him or something like that, if I remember, and it was shot, and I was like, oh my god, I walk through that place every day. I know exactly where that place is. Or I used to go to loads of meetings in the Blue Fin building near Suffolk Station, and they use that for loads of like TV shows, like loads of office spaces, like when they go into an office or something like that. They use that quite a bit, so you see that quite. Yeah, it's funny when you see places on the telly, isn't it? So it's terribly interesting stuff we do for on this channel. It's not all about West Ham, is it? We cover a multitude of sins, but yeah. And did you remember your first West Ham game, Phil?
I do, very, very vividly. I was 7 years old. I was got it as a birthday present. It was the last game of the 01-02 season. So it's, May the 11th, 2002, the last game of the season against Bolton. So obviously we finished 7th after that game under Glenn Roeder. I remember the day very well because I had like the Dr. Martens the kit at the time because I got it for the birthday not long before, and I remember going down to the station with my dad, and then obviously getting on the train. There was loads of other kids around, obviously with their own different teams on. So I remember seeing like Chelsea fans and Arsenal fans and all that. I got the train up to London Bridge, and then walked across the bridge to Monument Station and got the District line up to Upton Park.
Yeah.
But I remember I needed to go to the toilet, so I had to get off. I had to get off at Whitechapel and somehow use the toilet there before getting on the next train back over to Upton Park. And then, even though in my life I've not really I've never been a season ticket holder or been to like millions of games, but I just still and always remember it and always sticks with me. Even when I used to go to Upton Park, more often is that obviously that burger van smell with the fried onions.
Yeah.
That's always stuck with me. And just everything around it, the crowd noises and everything. And then we sat at at the time was the newly opened Dr. Martens stand, which obviously ended up being Betway stand many years later, near the top. And I remember them showing, obviously I remember on the big screen they were showing, I think it was just bits of how it was just recently constructed, and when the Queen came to visit, I think.
Of course, yeah.
I remember Joe Cole met her. I remember that they were showing it, and then obviously I remember the players walking out. Obviously in that Bolton team, like little did I know that 10 years later we'd have our future captain with Nolan, future goalie with UC Askelainen, and future manager with Big Sam.
And was Matt Taylor in that team as well?
No, I think he came years after that one.
Yeah, maybe a bit later. But it's not too bad. 3 out of this. Future manager, future captain, and future goalkeeper. And as you said, once you're in, isn't it? So, and it is like it's a sensory experience. As you said, you can watch all the game. You're watching all the games on the TV and stuff, but it's not the same. We know it's not the same, but it's not the same in terms of view, in terms of watching the game. But it's that sort of sensory stuff, isn't it? It's smelling like the grass.
Yeah,
like
that one especially.
That grass. Yeah, it's a weird, like cut grass, and at the end of the game when it's all like cut up or whatever, and that smell, and as you said, the burger vans, and just like the heat of all the fans, particularly now 'cause it's bloody freezing. It'll be bloody, so all that type of, you see a rise of sort of like steam from all the fans because there's so many of them, and it's a special thing, isn't it? Special thing, live football. Doesn't matter where you go and see it. It's a special. I used to like going to see the West Ham women. I loved that because it was like so like old school, like non-league football, because you were that close to the players, and I could lean on the bar and you know I could shout at the referee, but you were literally like arm's length from the linesman as well. It was no, I love it. I can't wait for everyone to get back, because it's a lonely place on your own.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It is. It's like, yeah, it's just weird. What I don't like is it's the normal now. I'm used to it now. That's what I don't like.
Yeah.
I like the fact that I'd like it to still be weird rather than I know I can go in. I can go for a wee at half time. I know I can, I know I can park here and walk here, and I'm not going to be. I can almost time exactly how long I'm going to be home because there's no traffic and there's I don't like that now. I don't like it. I like the unknown. I'm a bit, I'm a man of routine, so I like to be shaken up a bit sometimes, and it's just too obvious at the moment when my wife goes, "How long are you going to be?" And I go, "Well, I'll be home in 20 minutes."
Put the dinner on.
Put the dinner on. As if she'd put the dinner on, as if I'm the one who does it. We'd starve if it weren't for me, as you know, Phil. You're in your culinary exploits with myself, and yes, no, it's and that's something, isn't it? That's something. Thinking about lockdown and stuff like that, and as you said, doing nothing. A lot of people are doing stuff like things like cooking dinner, things like doing stuff. At least that sort of people are taking more time on it now because they seem to on Facebook and Twitter. See lots of people, obviously posting pictures of what they're having to eat, but you can tell they're actually cooking it rather than just dinging it in a microwave or
takeaways and all that.
Yeah, takeaways and things like that. It's nice because it's I love it. Like on a Sunday, I love just literally staying in the kitchen, like cooking something, but taking like a couple of hours, and that's like my time. I just sit there and I watch my YouTube while waiting for things to bake or whatever, and I love it. And they don't care how the others don't care because they get like a freshly prepared meal or a nice cake or a donut or a scone or whatever. So no, it's all good, man. It's all good. Anyway, again, we don't talk about necessary football on this channel at all, which is great. And for anyone who watches the lunchtime shows, we it's just about food, really. That's what we end up talking about, to be fair. A little bit of West Ham. Right. Anyway, let's get into talking to you about your 11, Phil. So obviously, everyone we have on the channel, bar a couple, have given their Hammers 11. The only rule is you have to be alive to have seen them play, but you can pick any criteria you want. That's it, man. Nice and simple. Now, obviously, I'm a bit of a sleuth, so I've seen you've asked a few questions on some of the Facebook groups recently about strikers and he's doing a bit of research. Is he doing a bit of research?
Yeah, well, it was sort of for two things. Partly because of this, and also another thing which I can plug if that's all right.
Of course you can.
Yeah. So yeah, my friend from work, he started a new YouTube channel where we do like a football podcast. He's a massive Newcastle fan.
Oh.
He's done a couple of videos. I've been on them both, and I sort of suggested a couple of ideas, and I did one with him yesterday. Hence why I wasn't on the lunchtime live stream.
Your absence was noted, Philip. We take a register at the beginning. Yeah, only joking.
Yeah, no, we did. He sort of came up with he asked me if I could come up with a Premier League West Ham 11 because I sort of told him about me coming on here.
Yeah.
And I told him about what the rules are with this one. So when I did it with him yesterday, I sort of done it with players which I was too young to remember. So I had to put Ludo in there and Dixie in there. Danny Talk Stuff it's called. I'll send you a link to it afterwards, and then
send
you
me
can
a
sort
link
of put
to it. Yeah, no, it's great because actually, funny enough, we've had lots of and speaking of clubs in sort of Newcastle area, there's a guy who reached out to me actually, a guy. It was a dad actually, a bit like Richard and Jake, to be honest. And he reached out to me because his son is starting I had his name. I'm so sorry. Where is it? Because I'll give him a plug anyway. And it's a Sunderland one. So
Okay.
it's Newcastle, and they're going to be doing they basically said, Matthew as a kid's name, Matthew, and they're doing, and he likes the My Hammers 11 idea. One of his friends was on it, Vic was on it, and so he said, "Oh, I'd love that for Sunderland." So we sat down and had a chat. It's like, yeah, because it's like, how he goes, "What do you do? How do you do it?" So I sort of walked him through it, and it's called We're Down South, but We're is in time
Tyne
and
and
We're.
Weir, yeah.
Clever, isn't it? Very
It
clever.
is
But anyway,
nice.
that'll be coming out. I imagine they'll be doing some stuff soon. We give that a plug.
Yeah, I'll check
Because
that out.
it's about football, though, isn't it? It's about and I think we, as you know, we get lots of non-West Ham fans on the live streams or on the watching the videos because it's general interest and it's about football and people, your memories, you're probably, your mate, he's not a West Ham fan, but will probably watch it because you're on it and your stories and how you got into the game and how you support West Ham and the players you liked. So it's all just lovely. It's all just lovely memories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Called in for prosperity.
Because we have got, I sort of gave him an idea. What we'd do is do combined 11s, so like all-time Premier League 11s through the decades. And another one I sort of said was if we did like a combined West Ham and Newcastle 11, like people who played for both teams.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and then do it with like whoever the guest is with whoever they support.
That's a good idea. Yeah. So if you did say, if you had like a Liverpool fan, a combined 11 of players who played for Liverpool and Newcastle. Good idea.
Yeah, because you'd be surprised, even if it's like somebody who's not even played like a lot of games, you could stay for one team, but they could have played like 400 appearances for the other. So you could still chuck them in.
Yeah, I mean Newcastle, West Ham. You'd have Xhaka in goal. You'd have you have your Rob Greens, your Andy Carrolls. You'd have
Piercy,
Stuart Pearce. Yep, you'd have Stuart Pearce.
Rob Lee.
Rob Lee. You said Rob Lee.
Scott Parker.
Scott Parker. Oh my God, yeah, Scott Parker.
Wayne Quinn.
Wayne Quinn.
Yeah, it was a bit light in the defence.
Yes, yeah. It does somewhat. Yeah, sometimes it's like when you try and put like some people put like a criteria on My Hammers 11, and they get themselves into a bit of a pickle. Yeah, I said stick and pickle. A stickle. It's a new thing I invented. You have it in your bagels. Yeah, stickle. Yeah, stickles. And they get stuck because it was almost like too niche, and it's like because they had maybe 2 or 3 players, and I think they could do a whole squad, and actually they couldn't. I think it. What did he do? I can't remember what it was. I think it was my mate, and he was like doing golden oldies. So it was players he'd seen who made their debut at the age of 30 plus.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. So obviously, to be honest, it weren't too hard after a while because you got to think about eras. So you think about it, it's like It was like obviously, yeah, I think it was I can't remember Tom Taylor, whose name is. Check it out. It's my best mate. I've known him since I was 6 months old. It was like it's up front. It was like Teddy Sheringham and Franco or someone like there was loads of Brian Dean. There's loads, and there's all midfield. You had like people like. My brain was complete much. Defense was easy. Defense was quite easy. Stuart Pearce and Nigel Winterburn and Chris Powell. We had loads. We sort of were going back and forth in goal. UC, but most of our goalkeepers are over the age of 13 when they make their debut for West Ham.
That's true.
Fabianski. They're all over 30, so goalkeeper wasn't too tricky. But yeah, I like that Newcastle. West Ham or wherever is a combined 11. That's a good idea, man. I like that. That's good. Wouldn't work here because they're West Ham fans. So it's like you can work West Ham with West Ham. Okay, it doesn't really work. But sometimes you never know. We do have sometimes fans from others on the Russ Ramble site, and yeah. Anyway, that's a good idea, mate. Right, let's talk about your 11. That's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm walking through. So who would be in goal for the Phil 11?
Right, in goal. We've just mentioned him right now. It's our current keeper, Lucas Fabianski.
Yes.
Obviously, over the years, we've had many goalkeepers.
Yep.
Obviously, like Xhaka, David James, Jimmy Walker, etc. We've had a lot of good goalkeepers. But I feel with Fabianski, he's. I just feel really safe with him in goal. because I know when he was at Arsenal a long time ago, everyone used to sort of call him Flappy Hansky because he was sort of flapping it around all the time.
Yeah.
But I think when he signed for Swansea, that's when he was like obviously now a Premier League regular. I noticed how sort of calm and composed he was, and how solid he was as well. And then obviously they went down, and we signed him, and I was sort of like, yeah, he's a good goalkeeper, and he's proved me right. And you noticed how much we missed him when he got injured last season.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's weird seeing that was last season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
How is it? That whole Roberto thing seems an absolute. Roberto. And we mentioned it on the show the other day about the whole David Martin thing, and it was like that was last year. It's like really last season, really. It's like It's like we started that season with Pellegrini.
Yeah,
It just seems an absolute lifetime ago that Fabianski was injured and Roberto came in and caused basically Pellegrini's job.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but again, things like that, it's a weird sort of sliding doors moment, isn't it? Arguably, the Pellegrini experiment, if it went into this year, who knows what would have happened? It might have, in a weird way, Fabianski getting injured and Pellegrini leaving and Moyes coming in could be one of those weird sliding doors moments which turn West Ham, basically turn this season round. That's for sure. It's interesting, isn't it? It's just like these little things. You look back in history. We've had a few. There's a couple of interviews you have coming up where things have happened, but for one person, you go, "Oh my god! If you hadn't done that, you wouldn't have had this." And it's like it's weird when you think about that sort of butterfly effect, isn't it? When a butterfly's wings flutter in Japan, it does a storm in something else, and
I mentioned it. I think I did it on one of the live streams when I put a hypothetical question about if Di Canio didn't score his scissor kick against Wimbledon, would they have ever moved to Milton Keynes?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's you just got to think this how.
I know they was in trouble anyway, but
it
might not have happened.
Yeah. Well, we'll pick it either on there, or we'll ask him. Ask him his thoughts on that. I'll probably get shouted at the door with Ivan because I know him. But it's one of those. It's funny, isn't it, when you see these little things. You go, "Oh, if that didn't happen, then this happened," and sort of how the dominoes would have fallen differently. It'd be interesting. But Fabianski, as you said, he's just one of those keepers who's just when he's in my 11. I just think he's probably one of the most safest pair of hands the only frustrating thing is we could have had him if we had him in maybe 2-3 years earlier, maybe from Arsenal, rather than going to Swansea, going straight to West Ham. He would be in that sort of echelon.
I think at the time when he went to Swansea, this is when Adrian just became like the first team starter after he displaced UC as first choice. But it would have been good to have had him then. But Adrian was doing his bits back then, and he was another person I thought of. Got a lot of good fond memories of him. I think because he was such a big character as well. But obviously he had a lot of he could drop a few clangers here and there, didn't he? But it's hard. It was if it weren't Fabianski, it could have been Adrian. It could have been Robert Green. So it was pretty close.
I suppose, yeah. And as you said, you've reeled off 3 or 4 goalkeepers there. So it's not like it's like, I had to put him in because there's no one else. There was plenty of options there, which is again, doing these types of things, you realise actually, the procession of goalkeepers ain't been too bad. It's the one position I think probably that and maybe centre off where we've had a good bunch of players to pick from. So we'll put Fab in. Let's go. We're going to be playing 4 at the back. What are we going to do?
Yeah, we'll stick with do 4-4-2.
Nice and traditional. Nice and Mike Bassett. Right, let's go left back. Who's going to be left back? Then Phil.
It'll be another current one, Aaron Creswell.
Mr. Creswell, the Magic Man.
Yeah, Magic Man himself. Obviously, he's been with us since 2014. Hammer of the Year first season, and rightly so. He was fantastic.
Yep.
Eventually did get the England call up because of his performances with us. I know like last couple of seasons he was sort of not as good, but I feel like there's a bit of a renaissance this season since we've gone to that back 5. But it's like it's another one I really like. We got him quite young as well, straight from the Championship as well, which is really good. And it is a position where we've sort of obviously it's a different. We've had like a left back for like 2 seasons or whatever at the end of their careers, like we've mentioned a lot of times before. But this is the one person where we've had for quite a long time, probably since Julian Dix.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right in terms of like longevity, isn't it? And you're right. We had that sort of that procession of retiring left backs. As you had Pearcey and Winterburn and Chris Powell and Rufus Brevet and the guys who maybe get 2 years out of them.
Yeah.
And then Cresswell was and he sort of, I mean, to be fair, he's always given it his all at West Ham. He's never, you can't question his ability, his commitment. Obviously, his legs were going a little. I mean, he's only like 30 something, but his legs were going for to be a consistent left back in the modern game. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, no problem. No problem.
That's right.
The game's just changed. The fullbacks aren't fullbacks now, are they? They're auxiliary wingers basically. And but this back three seems to suit him so well. As you said, it is like a renaissance, and it happened the last time he did it as well. So
I remember.
it's all good. No, I think he's great. And to be fair play to him to get him back involved. And he could easily have gone, fuck this, because he got a lot of stick, didn't he? He did get a lot of stick, but now he's got, and he's that old magic left wand is paying dividends this year.
Definitely,
because he's got someone to hit. He's got someone to bring it into. With someone like Souček and Rice coming in the box late, he's got someone to whip it in, hasn't he? So there's a target man usually for us, which is great. But we also had a target. Do you know, we had a guy playing. His name was Sebastian something. He was a target. He was meant to be a target man.
I remember him. Whatever happened to him?
Bala. I can't remember anyway. Don't know what happened to him.
French?
Ivory Coast.
Oh.
I think I can't remember. I'm sure Kent will mention it, but anyway, so we'll put Aaron Cresswell. Who's going to be right back then, Phil?
Right back, be someone who was old, and it was a bit difficult this position, but I'm going for Pablo Zabaleta.
Yeah, Zabi.
Yeah, model professional, really. He's one of the best right backs in the last decade. He was probably up there as one of the best right backs in the Premier League.
Yeah.
When he went to Man City, I think he signed just before they became rich. But in all that, he must have been doing something good to stay in that squad, for them not to buy like a world-class right back at the time. Obviously, his best days were at City, and he's a club legend there. And we had like last couple of good years out of him. But I think he's just, even though what he lacked in pace in his latter years, I think just professionalism, his teamwork, just him in general. Yeah. He's like the last of a dying breed, really. Because I remember, I think it was just before the first lockdown last year when he did a video with Ngakia, and he was sort of talking to him on. This is on YouTube, West Ham YouTube channel. He's just talking to him about, I can see you're going to be good. Just keep your head down and all that. So I think he's a perfect sort of. He can be a good coach.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see him if he came back in some way for us.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think he's a model professional, isn't he? And one of those guys which, I mean, from, again, frustrating. I mean, if we had him at his age 10 years ago, there wouldn't have been a problem, But that last season, bless him, he got a bit shown up for pace, didn't he? Really.
Yeah.
I remember particularly, I think it was Sarr for Watford. Taught him a new one when we played Watford. But he just said, professionally wise, I mean, there was one game, I can't remember who, I think it was Palace or someone like that, and he had Zaha in his pocket because he was just doing old school tactics. It wasn't letting him turn, studs down the back of his thigh, that type of calves, that type of thing. Not that his thigh, it's got to be right over his calves. And he was a wily old pro, and I think, you see the effect that when he left City for West Ham, there was all the sort of in memoriam videos. Thanks for the memories, Zab, and a bit like what we did with Snoddy when Snoddy left to go to West Brom, the same type of thing. And so how much he was adored, and he seemed to really enjoy his time at West Ham by all accounts. And,
he did. Just touching on that is really when he didn't sign up for the last few weeks of like the restart thing. He thought it was the best thing for him to do, with obviously him being injured. He was going to do what was right for the club, and he was so positive, nothing but positive stuff to say about us anyway. Yeah. So he's always got a lot of total respect for him.
Yeah,
really through that.
Agreed. Right, okay. Krez is in, Zab is in. Centre half. Who's your first centre half then, Phil?
Another current one, Angelo Ogbonna.
Okay.
Yeah. So I remember obviously when we signed him. Again, obviously, we just Bilic has become manager.
Yeah.
I think we unintentionally announced that we were signing him a couple of weeks before when David Gold tweeted him. Yeah. Meant to be Obiang, but I got him. But I think, it was obviously played for Juventus. I can't remember if he played in that Champions League final just before we signed him or not.
I wouldn't think so. No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Obviously, they had like Chiellini, Bonucci, Bazzagli there, so he's not going to displace them. But I think he's been. I think the last 18 months he's gotten so much better.
Oh yeah,
really. I think when I watch him, it's just really classy. Just how he just tackles people and he just sweeps the ball around.
He seems to just like read the game really well. Do you know what I mean? He just seems to like. At the moment, I mean, I was watching that Stockport game, and like the balls were over, and it was like he was there, and he knew that ball was coming over, cut it out straight away, and that takes real skill to, know where the ball's going to go and anticipate it. And he, as you said, the last 18 months, he's just been a revelation. As he got back into the Italian squad, obviously couldn't play that game, but and again, I always find it incredible when. Players who are not playing in there, so particularly obviously Italy and Spain and France as well, particularly, it's sort of like if you don't play in the league, then you're sort of, you have to be basically bloody good to get in the team. Otherwise, we'll put someone from Serie A in the squad anyway. So to get back in was a great achievement for him. And as you said, when he's at Juventus, he had like probably 3 of the best defenders in the world in front of him. So,
But I always remember, really, because I think one of his first games in the Premier League, I can't remember if it was against Leicester, I think, and he got taken off after like 20 minutes in the first half.
Quite possibly.
It was a bit harsh, but I think he's always been good. There was some time where he was a bit inconsistent or he had an injury, but I think the one standout memory I have of him is when we played Liverpool in the fourth round FA Cup replay.
Yeah.
That was the last game under the lights that I actually went to, and obviously it was 2-2 going into the end of extra time. 120th minute, bam!
Yeah,
I'll never forget that.
It was a great header, wasn't it? It was a great. And again, but the whole of that season was just there's always like memories, weren't there? These special things, and it was a great header. It was a great way to finish that game off, and the last proper game in the cup at home at the Upton Park and stuff. So
the last one that we won, anyway.
Last one we won, you know what I mean. But about that, But it was a great moment, and it was great that someone Oggy got it as well because it was well deserved for him. Right, okay. So we'll put Oggy in. Who's he going to partner?
He's going to be partnering James Collins.
Ginger Pele.
Yeah. Yeah, James Collins. Obviously, we had him in 2 spells. First time was when we first got promoted under Alan Pardew. He was a young kid then. Signed him with Danny Gabardon. And I think, you sort of didn't really notice him as much in his first spell. But I think I remember like just before we sold him to Aston Villa is when I sort of appreciated him a bit more.
Yeah.
And then obviously he went off and done bits for Aston Villa. That was when they were like Europa League side with Martin O'Neill. He had some good players around him then.
Yeah.
And then obviously we got promoted again under Allardyce. We brought him back. This time all of his hair's gone. So it's like turned upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what you can say really, what hasn't been said, it's like, he's sort of strong, he's a warrior, always keen to get stuck in, and he is really club legend for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he is. And as you said, as I said, I was James Collins. I don't necessarily remember much of his first stint, more than his second stint I do, because he just came back as more of a West Ham defender, really. He came as a guy who was, as you said, we had no air, we didn't care. But he came back this sort of tough, old school Alvin Martin type defender. And I think for us, that's that we warm to defenders like that who put their body on the line and will just, it doesn't matter what part of his body, the ball hits, it's not going in, that type of thing. And yeah, top bloke.
Yeah.
Old GP is right. Okay, that's your back four. Let's go into your midfield. Left midfield, the left wing. Who are we going to have on the left?
Left wing, best player that I've ever seen. Obviously left on bad terms, but it is Dimitri Payet.
Yeah.
I thought he was an amazing player for us, especially that season alone. If he didn't get that injury against Everton, we could have easily been in the Champions League.
Oh, easily. That, and I reckon that and a couple of VARs, and we would have easily been in that Champions League spots that season. He was just special
Really
player, wasn't
he? Yeah, no, £10 million was it? Something like that we signed him from as well. Yeah, because I knew of him. Like, I'd never watched like Marseille or anything, but I knew of him. And then you get a lot of the hype, and then I heard his stats. He was like, he created the most chances in the top European divisions. Because I think originally we was actually meant to sign Andre Ayew like that instead of him.
Yeah.
Apparently, but then we ended up getting Payet instead. And rest is history really. Because I remember, I think he his first game was a friendly against Southend.
Yeah. And
then the first competitive one was against Birkirkara in the Europa League, which I remember very fondly. And I thought this player's going to be really good.
Of course you do. Of course, because of the Maltese connection.
Yeah.
I could have used you, because it's like I was commentating that guy, denouncing, and I didn't know f all about any of the players. And like I was interviewing our press guy, Paul. I said, "How do you pronounce the?" I got Birkirkara right. That was the only thing he said. He said, "Is that right?" Yes, I think that sounds right. And I was going for the 11. It's like I just said it with so much conviction, but I didn't have a clue what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But no one moaned, so I was like, fair enough.
If I remember rightly, I think when you first said Birkirkara, I think you said Birkirkara or something like that.
Quite possibly, Phil. Quite possibly. Yeah, quite possibly.
And obviously the one player of note they did have was Fabrizio Micoli.
Yeah.
I've always remembered his name because it sounds a lot like mine. Yeah. Even though he's Italian, they're deep down in the roots. There may be a family connection.
Oh, there you go. Because he was, but I'm not being funny. The years hadn't been kind to him when he was playing for us, playing for Birkirkara, was he? And so, I remember, as I said, I think we said this before. I remember distinctly sitting on the bench, me, Sacco, and Chiarte, and me. I'm sort of saying to him, they were laughing at him they were laughing. I said, he's like a former Italian international.
Yeah.
Like, on my phone, Wikipedia showing him, that he's played for all the top clubs. He's got so many Italian. And they were like, it's like, yeah. He's just like, he's just.
Yeah, but you do get a few washed up players who end up in the Maltese League.
What's it? Because of the weather, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Weather's lovely all year round.
Yeah, that's why. But, yeah. But yes,
anyway, back to Payet.
Yeah.
Just everything. It's like every time we got a free kick, I think we was more confident with a free kick than we was with penalties.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Even obviously Nobles scored every penalty, but when he had a free kick, you knew something was going to happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, that free kick against Crystal Palace, that sticks out because of how, it goes up and in. That free kick against Man United at Old Trafford in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
I remember watching that game. I remember watching that with my dad, and I said, "He's going to score that," even though it was like 35 yards out, and I was right. Everything, I think, we obviously had the song as well. You know, we heard that all the time. Um, he was just obviously he was strong as well because he was not the tallest person. He's got that low centre of gravity, so he's great dribbling on the ball.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a shame how it all finished. Where he
Yeah.
left the club, but you know,
But you get that with those players. As I said before on the channel, you get, him on Arnautovic, these sort of like, even Berkovic and people like that, these sort of mercurial players, and they sort of, no, don't, I mean, some of them, they throw their toys out the pram completely, but you sort of get that, and it's like, a leopard doesn't change their spots, and you look how he left for Marseille to us in the same way that he returned to Marseille.
yeah,
And obviously he's still revered there because they welcomed him back with open arms, and paid double the money that paid us. We paid them. So he's a special player, and as you said, I think nowadays we take that out because we've seen footballers go on strike all the time. I mean, as I said the other day, that thing on Sky Sports, the guy from Royal Antwerp,
I saw that.
So he put on the Anderlecht kit and stuff like that. We didn't. I mean, Pite didn't turn up in a Spurs kit, determining. So it's and yeah, there's all circumstances about family and stuff like that. So I think people are a bit more what's the word? A bit more acceptant maybe of him, the way he left now, because it's now quite indicative of the modern game. If a player wants to leave, they'll just kick up a fuss basically, and then they'll be chucked out before they kick up even more fuss and don't.
Yeah, more water's under the bridge now.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. It's one of those things where you look back and it's like you look back at what he did and the significance of him as a player for us that season was immense. We wouldn't have had that season, we wouldn't have had those memories without him. No two ways about it. So, all right, we'll put Dimmy in. Right wing. Who's on the right side?
The right. For once, I'm actually going to go back in time now.
Okay.
This was actually a little bit tricky. There was one of two people I wanted to put in, but I've gone for Joe Cole.
Yeah.
Joe Cole's coming through the academy. Could have been a world-class player. Obviously, injuries and other stuff got in his way, but I still remember him when I was saying earlier about my first game I went to against Bolton. I remember him running down, skilling people up. Obviously, he was a captain as well for us at 21 years old. But I think with that, obviously, that was when we had that great period of people coming through the academy.
Yeah.
And as he, at that young age and getting into the first team as well, he must have been something special, which obviously he was. And even with all the characters he had to be in the first team with around that sort of time, so they probably sort of made a man out of him as well. Which you probably wouldn't get now with if there's a young kid trying to come through now, they'll probably act too spoiled.
Yeah, totally. That's a really good point. Really good point. Yeah, it's totally different now, isn't it? It's like it's. I think when we had Neil Mellor on here, he was saying that he was like 20 and he was on the verge of breaking into the first team. Now like 20, he's like, you're a seasoned professional, really. You've played 2 or 3 years in the Premier League already, then and so. Yeah, I think that makes it. By all accounts, Joe was doing it from a young age in the first team when he was training as a youth team kid as well. So
that's true.
Special player, one of those special players that we had.
Yeah, because I remember I saw him do an interview a few years ago when he was doing his BT Sport stuff, and he was saying about West Ham and now the big character sort of made a man out of him as well, because he said we had Neil Ruddock and John Moncur and people like that who's the big characters, so he sort of looked up to them in some way. And then I remember when he came back as well, I remember that very vividly because I was at college and I was really wanting that deal to go through, even though he was sort of past it and his best days were long gone. I think it's just for nostalgia, really.
Yeah.
Player that I really liked when I was little. He's come back, and his first game against I think it was Man United in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
He set up 2 of James Collins' goals, and I think got man of the match for that. So yeah, I've always got a lot of time for him.
Yeah, and I think and he got a sense he was coming home.
Yeah,
and so that always adds an extra slice on top of nostalgia for West Ham fans. You know, they feel like they're coming home, or when, you know, I know players go and they come back as a coach or a manager, or, you know, there's that extra bit of, extra sort of layer of nostalgia on there. Yeah, he was, and I think him coming back just cemented his place in a lot more West Ham hearts.
definitely.
Just a bit, just helped a bit. Right, okay, so Pyatt on the left, Joe on the right. Centres, who's your first centre midfield player?
First one, he was my favourite player when I was a teenager. Great leader. He's going to be the captain. I've officially given him the captain's armband for this one. That is Super Scotty Parker.
Scott Parker. I'm gonna edit that just so I'm gonna put him captain.
Yeah.
There we go. He's a skipper.
If you're watching, Scott, there you go. It's official.
It's official. Scott Parker, what a man.
Yeah. Well, Ham of the Year 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Easily dragged us along a lot of the time when we wasn't, as a team, wasn't at the highest of morales, especially when we went down. But I think we definitely got the best years out of him. Through, obviously, he was came through at Charlton. Obviously did really well to sign for Chelsea when they just came into all the money, and then went to Newcastle, and then we got him. I think he was 26 when we got him, and then we got 4 great years out of him.
Yeah, definitely. Good way of thinking about it. Yeah, we got him in his prime, really, didn't we? Prime Scott Parker, to be fair.
And recalled into the England squad as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt he was unlucky not to get into the South Africa World Cup. Because I remember he was in the final 30, but didn't make the final 22. Or it was. But, you know, I can't speak highly enough of him, really. Obviously, when he left, it was a bit annoying because he went to Spurs and we sold him for less than what we paid for him. But I can't not dislike him because I know he is sort of mixed with certain fans, so he is kind of like a tainted hero. But just everything about him, like I say, I gave him the captain's armband because I felt like he deserved it more than Upson, just because of him being like the leader that he was, dragging people through. And I felt like, without that season when we went down, because of people like him, that's why I still had a little bit of belief that we could stay up.
Yeah.
So he was unfortunate not to.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. He's one of those players who I think, there is. I'm very much in the pro Parker camp because, you know, I say it all the time on these things, but I always make the point that, you know, we say that we want teams to play, you know, our players to play with commitment, and that's obviously a big thing about the Moyes team at the moment. Everyone's having a go; they seem to be all wanting to play. I mean, you know, the guy every game at West Ham, playing for West Ham, Parker, would leave it out there on the pitch. He wouldn't bring anything in. As I say, I used to see him sometimes almost like he'd be hobbling out of the player car park because he put so much into the game. And just because it went to Tottenham, who were in the Premier League, who he had England aspirations. His dad he's on his deathbed. He told his dad he would play for Tottenham once. Fucking hell, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, and when we revere people like Martin Peters went to Tottenham, you know, and Bobby, and, you know, arguably he was going to put a transfer request in to go to Arsenal or Tottenham, and we've got a stand named after. You know, I mean, it's people pick and choose history to refer back to, but with Scott Parker, I think, you know, he typified everything we want as a West Ham player.
I reckon if he did stay on though, he would have easily been like a club legend for sure.
Oh, that's shadow of a doubt.
No doubt about it.
What's going to happen? You know, he may well come back and manage us in a few years' time. You know, he's fair play. He's doing a good enough job at Fulham, or albeit in difficult circumstances.
Mm.
He's got a bit of a West Ham manager look about him. Do you know what I mean?
He's quite dapper as well, isn't he?
Yeah, and he definitely bought himself a new blazer for the West Ham game because he looked extra dapper that day. Someone did say he looked a bit like Gareth Southgate in a hot wash, and I know what they mean. Sort of, yeah, exactly, because Gareth Southgate always well turned out. But yeah, he's top guy. All right, we'll put Scotty P in. Who's going to partner in that midfield then?
I've gone a bit left field on this one, so
we want a central midfielder. So yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I've not put David James up there. No, I could have easily put Noble in there. I was very close to putting Declan Rice in there. Michael Carrick as well I could have done, but I've decided to go for Cheku Kouyaté.
Yep.
Yeah, Kouyaté's. I thought he was a very good player for us. Signed him from Anderlecht, and I felt like he was like a slight upgrade on Mohamed Diame. Both Senegalese. Diame was still there for the first couple of games of the season when we had Cheku, but I remember his presence. He's not a short person, is he? And I remember because I went to pre-season game a week before the season started when we played Sampdoria.
Yes,
and. I was just watching him play, and I just liked how composed he was on the ball. And it was very quickly he was getting all the comparisons with Patrick Vieira.
Well, yeah, obviously, in terms of size and ethnicity, there's an obvious sort of parallels there. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and then it's like, especially with that season, the 14-15 season. Obviously, I said earlier about Creswell won the Hammer of the Year. For as great as he was. Personally, I voted for Kouyaté to be my Hammer of the Year because I felt he was that good for us.
Yeah.
Then he kept his form going into the next couple of seasons, and then obviously I've got a very fond memory of him. I sent you a picture from it last month, if you remember. Yeah. I was only limited to like so many words I can write on a comment, so I can speak more. About it now. So about he did a signing with Payet and I gave him a chocolate basically.
Yeah.
So what it was, I remember I was where I was working at the time. I worked and they gave me a box of Cadbury's Heroes as a Christmas gift. And that same day we had under 23 games free admission at the ground. I think it was against Fulham or Arsenal. It was one of the two.
Fulham, I think.
Fulham.
Yeah,
Fulham. I remember now. And it also said, there's going to be a stadium signings in the club shop with Dimitri Payet and Cheku Kouyaté. So I thought, I'll go up there. Had my box of celebrations. I was just something to snack on while I was watching the game. And then I found an autograph book for that season with all the players and everything. I don't know if it was free or not. I just picked it up, and then when it come to me to get it being signed and get my picture taken, I thought, I don't know, just so it breaks the ice. I'm like, Cheku, do you want a chocolate?
Yeah.
and I remember just seeing his eyes because I think he was still, his English wasn't 100% great. So he was like, chocolate? It's like, chocolate. I did that. He's like, oh, thank you very much. Like that. He's like, eyes lit up. And then you rummage through. And I thought, do you want one as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he picked up a Cadbury's cream egg. And then Payet got dairy milk. So that's like my fond memories of him. And also, he's will go down in history, the first person to score at the London Stadium.
Indeed.
Which I was there for. I think he scored twice that game, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I think so. But I think what I liked about him as well, he was a really good clubman. In terms of the way he interacted with the fans and stuff, like a bit like Adrian. Adrian was a good clubman. Snoddy's was a good clubman, and he very much was the same. Yeah, he was a good player, but he was the way he interacted with fans. He had those signings. the open training sessions. I said, there was him and Sacco and people like that, and Alex Song and Adrian. They'd be there for hours signing people's shirts and t-shirts and taking selfies. Where others had done their bit and they went home. Fair enough, but they were like out there, and I really liked Kyoto. And obviously he has that thing, the Players Awards, where he was singing the Pyatt song out.
I remember that.
And everyone was telling him to shut up, and he was so loud. And he's a lovely bloke, lovely guy. Yep. All right, so we got Parker, we got Kyoto, we got Cole, we got Pyatt. Up front, then who's going to be up front? Who's your first striker then, Phil?
First one is obviously one of the first inclusions in here is Paolo Di Canio.
Yes.
He must be the most frequently asked person on this. On these 11s, isn't he?
Yeah. It's either him or Julian Dix. It sort of depends about who we interview, really. But they're sort of neck and neck, to be fair. But Paolo is one of the top ones.
Yeah, obviously, I remember when I was a kid and he was playing for us. Great striker for us, as we all know. Obviously, we signed him under those circumstances of him pushing the referee over at Sheffield Wednesday. And then we took a punt on him. I think it was 1.5 million. Best 1.5 million we've ever spent. Funny thing is, with that game I went to against Bolton, he didn't play in it, which was unfortunate. But I was lucky enough to see him play a lot later on in life at Noble's Testimonial.
Yeah.
Which is where I took this picture from.
Very good.
Yeah.
Nice picture. Very good.
Thank you. Just plug that. Great player he was. If he'd have played more games on that in the 2003 season, no doubt we would have been a lot higher up in the table for sure. And he loved the club so much. He cried when he left. So he got the West Ham tattoo, and he does consider us his family as well.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. It's once or twice in a generation, you have like this sort of like weird alliance with a player and a fan base, and Paolo and West Ham fans just sort of work together in sort of combination, and it's and there's been players in various other sort of generations where the same sort of relationship has happened, but he was just a special person, player. Special player.
Even after 20 years or whatever it is, nearly 20 years, we're still singing his name. Exactly,
yeah. Exactly. And that shows you, there's certain players, him, Ludo, you still sing his song, Christian Daly, you still sing his song. And, and we say about Pyatt and Pyatt's song, having a song, a song dedicated to you as a player, does put you in a certain special category of West Ham flight. It's like, rather than just We Are West Ham or Bubbles or whatever, you're singing a song just for that one person, whether it's just for Pyatt, whether it's just for Di Canio or Christian Daly or, Landini or whatever, it's like, and there's something really special about that. And we've had a few people do an 11 of the players they love to sing songs with. And obviously Ludo is probably number one because it's probably the best song ever from a West Ham perspective. But we still sing his song, and it's just, and when you hear a few bars of that, even if it's not a West Ham, maybe it's on the telly, you sing the Paolo Di Canio song rather than the actual proper song. And
that's true.
Love it. Yeah, it's so funny. And I get really sort of upset when people sing like the Pyatt song, and I'm like, well, no, that was our song for them. And like, winds me up. That winds me up.
Yeah, they all got it from us.
Copyright. We should copyright our song. So right. Okay. So we'll put the entertainer, the maverick that is Paolo Di Canio in. There's one more spot, Phil.
This is probably the hardest one I had to choose. But it's Dean Ashton.
Dino. Yeah.
He was a great player, really.
He was.
So unfortunate what happened with his in the England training with Sean Wright Phillips injuring him and ruining his life.
Yes.
Yeah. He was a great player when we signed him. I think he got unveiled against Fulham when it was Repka's last game. I believe, and when Anton Ferdinand scored that goal. He was already sort of highly rated at the time, like one of those top young championship strikers. And then obviously we got him, scored the really important goals, especially in that cup run. And then obviously scored in the final as well. And then obviously when he finally came back from injury as well, obviously he wasn't the same, but he was still important. He come back with his like bright blonde hair and all that. Yeah, just a shame really what happened. But he really could have been like the new Alan Shearer for sure.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, mate.
So, yeah, it's like you get that every generation. So you had Shearer in one generation, then it would have been him. Harry Kane probably could have been what Dean Ashton could have been, if you know what I mean. Like,
I think Harry Kane, in all honesty, I think he's like a Dean Ashton light. I'll be honest, because I think he's got, whereas Ashton had, I mean, he's got the attributes, he's got he's got a shot, but Ashton had a little bit of a turn of pace. And he was a bit tricky. I see Kane is a very good striker of the ball. Obviously, gets forward in, one-on-ones, but he doesn't have that sort of guile. Ashton had that guile. He had that drop of the shoulder. He could take him out. He could beat him with skill rather than necessarily good movement. Do you know what I mean? And but yeah, he still is the most. Definitely at West Ham, the most complete striker I've ever seen. It's one of those frustrating things. The flip side was, if he didn't get injured, then he would have probably been at Man United for many years. I'd imagine partnering Rooney for Man U and for England. A terrible shame for England, not just for West Ham, because I think he would have been that final piece of that pie that they were desperately needing. That partner for Rooney. But he still speaks so highly of the club, and obviously, you spoke about Mark's testimonial. Obviously, him coming in, just showing that little bit. He's still there, it's the skill's still there. That you never lose that.
I mean, as you can see, I had a great view of it.
Exactly. He's a top guy, and he said, we look at partnerships. Obviously, we talk about McAvenny and Cottee and things like that. Him and Bellamy would have been an absolute. They were given, if he wasn't injured, that would have been our new Machiavelli Cottee without a shadow of a doubt. A great partnership that would have been. But
definitely,
as always, it's a sliding doors moment. If he hadn't been called up and he hadn't got injured, then what would have happened? Where would we have been?
Who knows? Well, there's loads of sliding doors, especially in that season anyway. In particular, with a certain somebody else who came in that season who had to drop out with Tevez.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, actually, and we had Dan on the channel, Daniel Hurley, the other day, and he's written a book all about that season called The Greatest Escape, because it's not just that Man United game and that Tevez game. There was loads of that season was a really effed up season. So many weird things happened, and so it's a really good book actually. So if you're ever bored, I'd highly recommend. And I think it's his birthday today when we're recording this. Dan's birthday, same day as Declan Rice's. So when we're recording it, so although it's not going to go out till like midway through next week, but it doesn't matter. Phil, man, it's been lovely chatting to you, buddy. Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. I'm glad we finally got it in the can, so to speak. So thank you, mate. I appreciate all the hard work and effort and agonizing decisions. I can tell there's been a lot of agonizing decisions. But thank you. And obviously thanks everyone for watching or listening. Whatever you do, whatever platform, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And until next time, from myself and from Phil, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Now, Phil's got his phone, so you're better to do the irons.
Hold on. There you go.
Okay, there you go. Come on, your irons, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Much love.